finding me? Now it is. Sorry, just in time.
Now, just a question about this. Can you see the top of the header of this PowerPoint slide or not?
I see Wash Lake added land phase 2 wastewater is the first line.
Perfect. Perfect. But let me minimize the view of you guys. That'd be better. Good. Well, hey, I'm excited about this for a lot of reasons, but one of which is I've been working and I'll try to keep me, if I start going like I'm a professor with my 50 minutes, say, give me the cane. I'll try to keep this to 10 minutes. But I've been working in WASH for about, since 1972. This is the best project that I've been involved with. And I've researched it and everything. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to clean a lake, to Lake Atitlan. I'm not sure how many of you have been down to Lake Atitlan. If you have, but it's a beautiful place. The beauty of this is that you guys already know what you're doing. So you know all about WASH projects. So I'm not like trying to explain that to a potential funder that's not been there. And you guys, we've had 4 grants in the past 3 years that were funneled through our e-club, and then Agua del Pueblo, with which I'm affiliated somewhat, but we have to be really upfront about that too. But I am involved. I was a founder, but I'm not reimbursed whatsoever. I'm no longer a participant of Agua del Pueblo. But anyway, Rotary and has helped us out in global grants, 2 global grants just recently. But this is an interesting proposal, and we need your help. The other thing that I forgot that Peter overlooked is that $50,000 have already been collected by Minnesota clubs that will work into this thing as well. Okay, now the objective of the global grant is to clean the lake, but there's so many more other benefits that are involved in this. What we're going to do is water and sanitation have health impacts, that's for sure. But more importantly than what we've seen over the years and during the war, especially in Guatemala, is that raising consciousness levels and the time saving that it comes to a woman. I mean, a typical woman, we went out there and measured it. For the average in the Highlands, they were spending 3 hours a day carrying their water. And so a lot of time savings there. But the best of all is that communities develop. And a lot of times they have some political, more or less more religious relationships, but most of these folks have never done any tax collecting and very little joint decision making. The last project we inaugurated last year, the community already has electricity in and is planning a school, and that's really what happens once you do. And again, this is my way. This is that's the fun. Inaugurations are great. Okay, it has, as far as women go especially, they spend less time collecting water. Again, and the sanitary facilities allow girls to stay in school during menstruation. The dropout rate, this is worldwide, but Guatemala especially, is the dropout rates of teenage girls falls precipitously at that age. Everybody becomes healthier, you concentrate better, and you improve your school performance, and that's been demonstrated through the peer-reviewed literature. This is Anna. It's a lady that I knew about, and I knew it. I worked with her, one of my projects, and she started school right after getting having the project inaugurated. And okay, this is the bad news. Okay, I didn't ask you. Have you been down to Lake Atitlan, any of you?
I live very close. I live outside of Antigua.
Okay.
So I've been there many times, and I lived there for quite a while.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
I've been to Atitlan too.
Good. So it takes my breath away every time I see this picture. So, and as far as water resources go, in this, the other thing that's interesting, it's called a Meramictic lake, in that there's no non-subterranean exits. In other words, there's nothing that drains that lake that you can see. It's huge. And what it does is most lakes, especially in Canada and in the U.S., they turn over from top to bottom. This one, it goes it turns out it's by the Coriolis effect. The top layer goes one way. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the lake is eutrophying, and it's been cyanobacteria presents a long-term problems. And I'll show you about this. There's 400,000 that live in the watershed. Okay, and they're the poorest of poor. One of Dr. Paul Weiss, who was a founder of Agua Pueblo as well. Now he's at Stanford Medical School, and he's teaching there, and he brings kids to Africa, and he brings things to Guatemala. And he said that where we are in Guatemala is as worse as it is in Africa. Now, I haven't traveled like he has, but this is the problem. Okay, this is hydrilla. This is the water intake. This is for a town of about 50,000. Okay, now if this is these are satellite shots of what's going on, and this isn't really cyanobacteria, but it's a precursor of it, and it bloomed. You can see the bloom right there down in December 2009. It covered 40% of this top layer. Okay, so anyway, the effort and basically what's happening is these 40,000 people are all pooping into the lake, and so in order to take care of this, it's a big deal. It's $40 million overall over 10 years. But what we're doing, we're going to start with the highest municipality first. We're cleaning that up and from the top down. We're already starting the highest peak, and now this second one is what we're hoping to get you folks involved with. And which I mentioned, we're already it's now $50,000 for Minnesota and in South Carolina clubs. And so the goal is to provide all rural citizens sanitary wastewater treatment. The potable water is the easy part. The wastewater treatment is more difficult. People don't realize that whenever you introduce water into a community, you have more wastewater. And as an engineer, you got to deal with that. And very few water projects do that adequately, sustainably. There's also, forget about Petaluma, California. Definitely, they're going to send 3 people down to this dog and pony show we're doing. It's a summit. Well, we have to decide. Basically, we have this big old coin of 400,000 people, and there's hundreds of communities, and we want to talk to you about what you think the criteria should be, and we'll actually select them at that time. And then Agua del Pueblo will continue the process, but we really want different people's perspective, and I think that's really important. Okay, next one is that if you go back again to Peter's got it really well linked. There's a video, a 3-minute video that Rotary asked us to do. So I want to leave, or whatever the next step is, but the thing I really want to show is that we have a donor visit in January. And the reason I want to push it is because these people from all over the country are going to come down and be there together, and we'll be able to see how we're doing. And we'll have a little bit to evaluate. We'll go to an older project, and you can take a look at that, and because sustainability is everything. And then we'll take you to what the project is going now and future projects. It's really gonna, anyway, it's about 8 days, and it starts January 19th. So I think I better say goodbye, or sorry, Peter. Thanks for taking the time.
No, that's not a problem at all. Thank you very much, Bruce, about that. I will follow up right away and share my screen here.
Good.
And to give before we go into discussion and question and answer, to give you some aspects of the possibility of the funding. And this is just a numbers. There's nothing decided. This is just so that people become aware of the possibilities. Now, Bill Skinner is the one behind this. Calgary Heritage Park Club will be the lead for the Canada, and the reason for that is as follows. He is in District 5360, and 5360 is rich when it comes to DDF because they've had a member in the district that has donated a significant sum. And so they have too much money, they don't know what to do with it. And so, they have, if they take the lead in a project, they will get a maximum of 15,000 US DDF, no matter what they put in, up to 5,000 Canadian dollars. So if they put in 5,000 Canadian dollars, they get 15,000 Canadian or 15,000 Canadian dollars as well, which is 250 US. Then if there is some other clubs that in the district that can join in, put that also. Bill feels that the CIP grant is an opportunity or a possibility to have that there. They would like us, if we to participate, put in 3,750 US dollars. If we put in more with the help of other clubs, then, you know, we would be able to get more funding, you know, as well. These are just guidelines to show that with, here's the $50,000, Bruce, that you said I didn't know about, but I did. We have that put in here as well from the American clubs, right, with DDF from the US as well, which gives us a total of $80,750 of cash to put in. That then will be matched with World Fund matching and with the global grant matching, which means that actually a total of cash of 84,788 in this example will give us a total money of about 280,000. Now, those numbers are staggering as far as I'm concerned, but if we as a club were able to participate and put in $5,000 with all the others doing something too and come up with something like $250,000 for a project, I think it is definitely worthwhile taking a look at. So with that, I think we want to go to a question and answer and discuss some more. Maybe, first of all, Vicky, tell a little bit more so Bruce knows who you are, if you can.
I'm sorry, your volume just went down. I didn't hear you, Peter.
Could you introduce yourself as you came in late?
Sure. My name's Vicky Horsfield, and I live in Guatemala. I'm the director of a charitable organization just outside of Antigua. And was a little bit late because I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get on a plane. And this is my second Rotary meeting today.
Good. Also, I mentioned in my introduction, Will Bogle. Will Bogle is the one who told Vicky to join Rotary, right, Vicky?
That's right. And
yes.
I went to Rotary meetings with him at the lake when I lived there. At the lake.
So she is very much familiar with the lake for that matter as well. Now, one more question I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more is about, Bruce, is about the tour or the thing in January.
Okay. Maybe you could share. Could I get a screen share to show you what the itinerary is about what it's all about. Okay, it starts on.
Well, very quickly. Okay, we just need just a few words about that to see, okay, because this has been circulated to the members.
Okay, great. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we've got it's a good cast, but we really need. As you can see, with different clubs, we really want to talk together at this. You know, we don't want to. We have the chance of multiplying this a lot very quickly if we all work together.
Correct. Right. So, anybody else wants to have any questions? We'll just get out of here now. And
can you just refresh us with the dates?
Sure. It's January 19th to 27th.
Thank you.
Because Vicky already told me that if anybody comes from our club to Guatemala for that, then they has to go and see her, of course, too.
That's right.
That's now, we have one of our members has indicated that he has interest in going, and that's Jean-Michel, who's sleeping because he's in Europe. So, but again, that would be a possibility of doing that, but there may be others that are interested in taking do this as well. But besides just the trip, it's just something that I wanted. This was the right time to bring it up, to people start thinking about this as a possible project for our club. Not necessarily this year, but maybe, you know, going on into the next Rotary year too. So anybody else has any particular questions for Bruce? Kitty?
I have three-part question. What is eutrophying?
Oh, well, all lakes over a period of time eutrophy. What it means is basically they become non-lakes. The ground ends up eating up the lake, and that's called eutrophication. You've seen it in all lakes all lakes eutrophy, but we're having the problem because it's meromicnic.
Okay.
And but it basically means the algae takes over the water.
Okay. Meromictic, I'm going to look up so you don't have to explain.
Okay.
Currently, the area that you're planning to go to, are they using latrines? Is that the problem?
Well, no, yeah, if we're lucky. What the rate of latrines there is about 40%. And that all comes from some of these projects. What we're doing, that is the problem. The problem is everybody's pooping in the watershed that ends up down at the lake. And Vicki knows what this is all about. And I don't know. So I've been coming down there, Vicki, since 1972, and it really has. The lake is eutrophied. It's not looking as good as it used to. But I'm sorry. Did that answer your question?
Well, yeah, it did. And my third question is for Peter, who said that the itinerary had already been circulated. To whom?
Yeah, at one time, trying to think that it went in a bulletin or an email. I'm not sure. If not, I will do it again.
Please.
Yeah, I would say please do it because I never received it, and I'd sure like to take a look at it.
Maybe I did.
Good.
Trying to think I did, but some people did respond to it for that matter too. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So Bruce, is there still, that's possible for people to join then? And say within the next month or something like that, because that original email that I got really pushed it to say, hey, you put a book.
Yeah, because here's the basic thing that we travel around, and having the van just to the right size. It's best if we only have about 3 more people. And but here's the thing: we're gonna do this every year, and we're in this for the long haul. You guys are in it for the long haul. So if it doesn't work out this year, it's going to work out in the future. And that's we're all about educating and try to get everybody involved.
I have a question.
Yes,
we'll have 3 Rotarians from Nanaimo at our organization in January. If we provide our own transportation, can we come and join up with you for a couple of days?
Oh, wow. That's of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. That's great. Would work out really well. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. We'll try and organize that.
Let's do it now. So I'll have to send you the itinerary more specifically. Good.
Okay.
I will, you know, for anybody that wants to, I will circulate the contact informations and stuff like that too. So that's not a problem. Just I have all that information.
Right. It might cost up to $1,500. But that would include everything, all in country, but we're trying to keep costs as little as we can. So we'll do so.
The basic, you say 1,500 for the time on the ground.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
The 10 days in Guatemala.
Yeah, that does not include the flight down there and back.
It does or does not?
Does not.
Right.
Is that U.S. dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid so again.
Damn.
Any other questions from anybody?
Yes, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead, Delvin.
Bruce, in one of your slides, there was something tube a la Lake Tahoe. What's that about?
That's good. In fact, it's a great story. If you know Lake Tahoe is also a meromictic lake. There's very few of them in the world. And what they had the problem there is that they were, having cities building up around Lake Tahoe. And so what they did, all the municipalities got together, they hooked up a big old tube, and then they sent it down the valley. They pumped it up and sent it down the valley. And that's a similar situation that we're considering, because we have and there's people from Lake Tahoe that'll be there in January. There's 3 ladies that live really close to Lake Tahoe, and because of our connections to the lake, that became kind of obvious.
But the purpose of that is that you get circulation, mean fresh water coming in and circulate. Is that the idea of putting this, pumping the water out?
No, I'm sorry. It's not pumping the water. It's pumping the poop.
That's even better.
Yeah, basically all the wastewater would come in on the municipal level. There's about 10 municipalities that are on the lake, in Lake Atitlan, if this would parallel what is in Lake Tahoe. They'd all connect each other up. They end up over at San Lucas Toliman, which is my hometown, and then they're going to throw it right down on some land, some really beautiful land. But they say that's the best over the long term to take care of the problem of the lake. All we know is as we clean up the villages from the top to the bottom, it's going to get better and better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been to Lake Tahoe 3 times, and it's absolutely crystal clear. So if they're doing something right, that should be emulated. I've never seen such a clear lake in my life.
Good.
Okay. Awesome, Delvin. Thanks. Any other questions?
Peter, can you clarify on the funding you were talking about? Is that within this Rotary year? And then Bruce said it'll go on and on, so.
Oh, right. No, don't know at all. Right now, this is just a basic informative meeting for people to become familiar with this possibility of what we can do. Then we can follow up and structure, because we know what our current situation is. We don't necessarily have any funds unless we raise funds or people jump in and put money in. But this is a long-term thing. When it gets this big and you have this many clubs involved, and if Vicky has connections in British Columbia, Nanaimo, who knows, we get a club from there, it only grows. That's why we take the time, and that it will be an ongoing thing, for that matter too. So that is where just give the possibilities of the financial thing with utilizing, as I've been saying, talking to American clubs, get a Canadian club involved, because our government is giving money away, right, contrary to your government, who gives it to other countries, not to their own other projects. Lynn, you had a question.
Can you just describe what the objective is of this second phase?
Oh, sure. Very similar to what the first phase was. So what it's going to accomplish is there'll be about, just depending on the size and which one we take, there'll be about 3 communities that will be involved. All 3 of those communities are going to have to learn about each other, and we're going to provide potable water for all those that don't. We're not working in any communities that already have drinking water. So we're taking either springs or pumping from wells in the area and distributing the potable water. First time they've really had potable. We'll have to chlorinate it, but other than that, that's typically all we need to do. You get it to every house. That's the key. Once the health benefits really start accruing as soon as you bring the water into the house. And also then you have water for the sanitary system. And so this will always be flushable toilets for everyone too. And that's what's the big change. That we're experimenting that with the first time in this phase 1. We've used latrines again for 47 years, VIP, improved pit latrines, and we've tried composting latrines. So this is our next try, and I think it's going to work. According to CAWST, it looks good, and we have the engineers are taking a look at it from Engineers Without Borders. So that's the big change is the wastewater treatment. And the way it is, it's collected. Basically, everything that flows is collected. It's in a sealed toilet, but it doesn't have a flush. You got to bring water in, you flush it, and then it goes down. There's a grease trap in each house, and then depending on the topography, they're connected with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 10 houses get connected, and then that goes into basically a 2-chambered septic tank. But they call them down there as biodigestors, biodigesters, and That's where it's biologically treated, and then it goes off into to land treatment after that, and it comes out pretty good.
So how many people would be serviced in these 3 communities? How many, maybe families is a better way to look at it? Or?
Yeah, the way to either way, the way to look at it is I think it's running about $100 per person. So it depends how but my guess is that it's I should have it exactly. It's
I don't want to put you on the spot right now. I was just trying to get at the objective.
But I was going to ask Bruce to follow up with, I have tons of material already, but he will have a better idea to give me some of the material that I can send to everybody to follow up to this meeting, because that, gives a better idea, and he will know what to do, because he has tons and tons of information and a lot of work and a lot of technical stuff too.
So
but that's just a matter of getting
it. Cost is involved then, eh? Cost is involved.
Well, they're not involved. We're trying to get them involved, but we asked them to put on a 3-day seminar to exchange they're working with a group in Honduras. And so we asked them to come in to this summit that I'm trying to shill and to participate. They're not going to be able to now, but we're going to set up a workshop later on. But we're definitely working together. It's an excellent organization.
Oh, yes, they are.
Okay, I want to get this to an end. I just want to mention Bill Skinner. Bill Skinner is crucial in this whole thing. The problem with Bill Skinner is that his international committee meets Tuesdays, third Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. in Calgary in person. So even though I said, well, this is Zoom, you can connect anytime and any way you want, he is right now in a meeting as well. Sometime in the future, we will get together again. We have David and Jean-Michel in Calgary who can meet in person. And so these are all kinds of things that we can do and follow up with.
Well,
Bruce, I want to thank you
Jeff,
for coming, for participating. And Jeff, oh yeah, no, he's no jokes.
Well, but at the Heritage Park
Ethan,
meets not very far from my work.
Exactly, yeah. And Ethan is in Calgary also. So,
Do we have time for one more question?
Yes, of course, Vicki.
One of the things I've read is that a big contributor to the algae bloom problem is all the chemical fertilizers that people use on the hillsides around the lake. And so when it rains, all that chemical fertilizer gets washed down into the water, and that feeds the algae. Are you going to address that concern?
Yeah, well, not me, and not this program is not set up for that, but we're working with the programs. We're also working with the people that are doing the tube around the lake too. That's proposed. That's light years off, but we can't do it alone. Education is really the key. You have to integrate and do this stuff with everybody else because, but I'll tell you, around there, the chemical fertilizers they're growing. It's a growing problem, but the people down there know it. They're starting to be more, the consciousness is starting to raise. They know the problems with chemical fertilizers.
Of course, the more water they get, the more fertilizer they'll use too, right? To grow more things.
You have to think that way. You have to, if you're going to think sustainably, you got to think that way. You do.
Right. Bruce, again, thank you very much for coming, for explaining things, and I'm sure we'll see more of you in the future. And next time when we get something coordinated with Bill, we will invite you in too, and we'll talk more.
Okay.
About this.
Now, are you guys all?
Thanks.
Wait a minute. Are you guys all terrorists, like my president says?
No, we only have one, but he is actually in Washington. We have a member in Washington.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Second part of our meeting is the dream team from Jim Kenyon. Jim, I'm going to give the floor to you, and you take it away.
Sounds good. Well, the Rotary Dream Team is in its, I think we're up around 15 years, but 9 in building dams. And what we have done is, and I'm just trying to find what I've done here. And I had it all lined up, but of course now I can't find the damn thing. But anyway, it started out with two people from, one from India, from Delhi, who owns a very high-end tourism thing, and Elias Thomas, who's actually in Maine, past district governor of Maine. And so what we're doing is going over and building dams. And if I can figure out how to bring this up, I'm having, back to meeting, and then I can share from there. Okay. And a thing to share has disappeared. This is interesting. Oh no, there it is. We discovered years ago that we do two things. We go over and we participate in the National Immunization Days. And we work in a village called Nuh, N-U-H, in the Mewat district of Haryana, right about 20 kilometers from the Pakistani border. The World Health Organization feels that if there's a break of polio back into India, that will be where it is. So we do that, and then we go and we build dams. So we're known as the Dam Rotarians. And they discovered the first year that we're way out and so far out that if we came back to a hotel or something like that, this would never work. So we live in what they call Swiss-style cottages. They're actually two-man tents, completely set up, nice beds, hot water bottle in the bed every night. That's kind of neat. Western-style washroom. And of course, we have a little bit of fun with the competition. So I shared my tent with an American, and we've kind of had the competitions. Judy is district governor from Australia that funded the last project. Dave is from Escondido, California. And when you talk about rich Rotary clubs, the local veterans of foreign wars had extensive real estate holdings, and they went under, they closed. And for some reason, they did not want the VFW to get a hold of the money, so they gave it to the Rotary Club. They have over $1 million in the budget. And so they just still do fundraising, but basically they just have fun. If any of you watch NCIS and the bit about Gibbs down in his basement working on his boat, that's David's carpentry shop. They rent that. Of course, the fat guy here, and this one is from Mexico. She's a dentist, and those little mouthwash cups she brought over with 4 bottles of tequila. So that worked out fairly well. This is this year's project. This is a dam. This is the dam here. I'm assuming you can see my pointer. That's the actual dam here. There's a stream, a little stream, I mean, it's a trickle that runs into the back here. And the idea is to dam that up, and then on this side, we'll create a lake that will go as far as 12 kilometers back and serve roughly 65,000 people and raise the water tables and this sort of thing. They did this trench so that we have water supply as we go and build it and have great fun. The fellow here is one of the stonemasons that we work with. They discovered the first year that it didn't stop raining for the first couple of days until they had a Hindu puja or prayer ceremony. And all of a sudden the weather cleared. So now this is part of the thing is we have these prayer ceremonies before we open. Again, Mexico, this fellow is the president of the Rotary Club and another Rotarian from India, et cetera, et cetera. So we bring from all over the world. This is how the rocks come in, and we found out that these rocks are coming 50 miles away. That's the closest quarry that they can find that has rock that would work for this. And so pretty incredible. And this is by about the second day. The dam is, we usually do the foundations. So that's the dam starting to go. Again, the trucks with the rock coming in and such. Very much an international thing. We all did the flags this year and had a lot of fun with that. And the Delhi Megapolis Club always do these plaques. They don't take it out of the Rotary grant. That's what the club does, is in a way they're thanking basically the Rotarians from all over the world coming in. It's all by hand, high tech. They put strings and then match the rock to the strings. And I brought an engineer over from Alaska 2 years ago who was horrified that nobody had an engineering degree. And by the time we finished our 3 or 4 days there, the guy just laughed and he says, "You couldn't take that out with a bomb. It is not moving." He talked to one of the stonemasons, Dinesh, and Dinesh just laughed. And when he said, "Well, do you have an engineering degree?" And he said, "Well, no, but my family's been doing this for 5 generations, and not a single dam has failed." Doing. So we did. We had mostly young girls and young women from the village about a kilometer away. And most of them had really ratty sandals, and some of them were working barefoot. And so the two Mexican Rotarians decided this wasn't acceptable, and somehow they snuck out and managed to get a ride about an hour away to the nearest store or market. And they bought every sandal and shoe they could find and brought them over and gave them to all of the locals. This gal here is 16. I never got her name. She shoveled probably 50% of the mortar mix on one day. I never saw her break a sweat. I never saw her stop smiling. And she's 16. I mean, just incredible. In return, the last day they brought us over to their little village. We got to pet the water buffalo, and we went into the houses and visited everything. I mean, it was just, you would never get that on another tour. So that's sort of a quick overview, if I can figure out how to, stop share. There it is. That gives you an idea of what we do on that part. But the other part is looking at, and I've probably lost it again, but this is great fun. Someday I'll learn how to use this stupid program. But I will do this and go back and do this. There is a little video which I will start off, and I'll try this again.
If you play a video, make sure you check off the boxes after you click on share screen first.
Nothing's happening. Oh, optimize for full and share sound.
Yes.
Yeah. The answer lies in the specific location. The foothills of the Himalayas, just above Anandpur. Seasonal mountain streams that feed the plentiful rivers of Punjab don't leave enough behind to enrich the poor soil in the hills. Our dams will help surrounding villages to increase their annual crop yield by trapping the rainwater that gushes down from the hills but rushes away without benefiting the local population. The village of Jhajjar in the hills above Anandpur is the prime beneficiary of this project. The people of the village accorded our team a tumultuous welcome and escorted us in a ceremonial procession to the dam site.
The village actually met us about a kilometer out, and we marched in with the dancing and music on this. This is what this is all about.
Then followed a traditional puja ceremony requesting the Almighty to bless our efforts with success. Over the next 3 days, our team joined the local labor force. We worked 8-hour shifts on the 2 interconnected dams. By participating hands-on in the construction, our team also made a difference in the enthusiasm of local people to participate in such community projects for their own long-term benefit. The project is funded by a global grant from the Rotary Foundation. It will have a far-reaching, long-term and sustainable impact on the welfare of this impoverished but colorful and vibrant community.
The fellow in pink actually owns the camp. He's Nepalese. And he just thought this was a good enough project. Even in his pink outfit, he showed up and hauled rock for the rest of us. These two are grade 2 teachers from Las Vegas. The locals were quite intrigued.
The dams will prevent aquifer degradation and surface water depletion, and this in turn will lead to recharge of the underground water table over an area of about 10 square kilometers. Assure irrigation in summer months and thus increase the annual crops from 1 per year to 3 crops per year. Lift water levels in the wells. make drinking water available to community during summer months from borewells in their own villages that are currently dry. This will free women and girl children from the day-long drudgery of fetching water from distant wells. This will in turn free them up to benefit from trade-oriented education and start earning additional money for the family kitty. Additional income from increased crops and additional earnings by women would reduce the need to take children out of school and send them out to earn money for the family.
We do most of the work with these stainless steel salad bowls, basically. They get pretty beaten up after a while, but they work.
Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up the world in the morn. Can't you hear the captain snoring? Dinah, blow your horn. Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn?
This is the plaque that they do every year. It's done by the club, so it doesn't do the loading. Usually we stay in the tents that I showed you at the beginning, but we were very close to the resort that was developed by the fellow that was in the pink. So he put us up in the resort while we were there. We were the guinea pigs. The water ran out at 4 in the morning. We tried to put hoses around for water. It was great fun.
Nice hat,
I'm sorry?
nice hat.
They gave us all of these outfits. This is all put on by this little resort thing. But quite an interesting collection. People from Pennsylvania. I mean, these are the dams that we've built over the years. Some of them have raised the water table as much as 200 feet. And in the one area, the one dam that was built in 2007, since it became active, there has not been a single case of cholera or dysentery in that area, which encompasses about 50,000 people. These things are all by hand, other than hauling the rocks with a tractor. Everything is done by hand with shovels and salad bowls, basically. What we traditionally do is we're paid the same rate as the locals to keep everybody happy, which is $3.50 a day. While they're doing that, at the end of it, we sign everything over back to the Sarpanch, the mayor, effectively, and allow the mayor to do a local project with his council. And in the case of that reservoir that you saw just there for a minute ago, they put a little trail around it when they sculpted the thing, again, all by hand, and planted trees and this sort of thing. So the villagers not only have the reservoir and the water table, all the effects, but they also have a walking trail and they have a recreation possibility with there. Last year's dam was completely funded by Australia, the way it worked out. My Terra Club that's in Whitehorse put $1,000 into it, and they've put that into next year's dam. So we've got $1,000 into next year's dam. 2 years ago, we put some money in, and the Delhi Megapolis has a second project, which they do as a club, and we decided to throw $1,000 into that. It's called Koshish. Koshish in Hindi roughly translates as a good attempt or a good start. And what they do is they look at migrant children in the age range of about 4 to 7. Education is free in India to residents. These are migrant families of Indian parents, but they're migrants. They don't have a permanent residence, and therefore they are not considered residents, and they're not permitted in the public school system. These are the little kids that you see rooting around in the dumps and this sort of thing. So what Koshish does is they have 5 locations. They have morning sessions plus afternoon sessions with nice healthy lunches in between. They provide uniforms, they provide shoes, which these kids have never seen shoes. They bring in physicians, dentists, the sort of thing to do basic workups. And after a year of doing this with Koshish, the Indian government then accepts them as a resident and accepts them. Last year, the program transitioned 356 children into the school system. Just amazing. And what really struck me the most was the last time, because every time I go over, I've been over 5 times. The last time I went over, they gave us bingo sheets of all of the finances to try to encourage us to raise money. And my roommate and I normally I wouldn't do this, but we came back from the dam building at that point, and we hit the hotel, and we got a massage. Pete just said, "That's it, I'm getting a massage, I've had it." So we went upstairs, and we had a marvelous massage at the hotel. And when they gave us this, this bingo sheet with everything on it, we realized that of the 5 teachers, one each of these 5 Koshish schools, their monthly salary was less than what we had each paid for our massage the night before. That was their monthly salary. So we diverted the $1,000 a couple of years ago into Koshish, and it's just an incredible, incredible project. But the dam project is going on. We're going back. I think I sent that out to everybody of the breakdown of this year's, if anybody's interested. I asked about, Peter, the Guatemala project, because it might be nice to go to Guatemala this year instead of India. But every year we do that. And then because Sanjeev, who was the voice on that video, he's one of the 2 organizers and past presidents. He owns a very high-end tourism. So they always tack a tourism part onto it. So this year, for instance, the group will go up into Nepal for a few days, then come down and do the NID and the dam building, and then down for the Taj Mahal in Jaipur. Last year we were in Mumbai. 2 years ago we were in Sikkim, and one of the Rotarians had just left the US Army as an artillery guide for 26 years. All he could talk about Sikkim was how difficult it would be to invade. So, what your background and how you look at things, it was hilarious. And he, after his retirement, he became a physician's assistant and ended up the only sick one on the trip, which I thought was poetic justice. So anyway, that's a bit of an overview. If anybody is interested in and didn't get the information, please, I'm happy to provide it. If you go onto YouTube and just do a quick search on Rotary Dream Team, and you'll find they do several videos every year of everything. And one of the guys I traveled with, Dub from Wyoming, he called Evanston, he called Chicago Rotary International and said, "I want to do a trip, and what is the most outrageous, crazy, funky trip and project that Rotary does?" And without a hesitation, the guy says, "Oh, that's Elias, the Dream Team in India." And so Dub joined us that year. And just to go out, Peter, before you get nervous there, we were in Dubai on the tourism part of one of the trips in the beginning. And everything is the biggest this and the tallest that. So we went to the biggest mall at the base of the tallest building. And we walked for a couple hours. And finally, Dub says, I'm going to be a Westerner, damn it. I want a coffee. So we went down to the food court area, which was massive. And there were a few people in one shop and a few in another, and the odd person standing there. And at the very end of it, probably 25 people crammed around the front of the thing, behind the counter, and probably 100 around and Dub just started laughing, and he says, "I don't know what it is, but I want that." Sounds like a Source commercial, doesn't it? And so we went over there, and anybody want to guess what the big sign was across the counter? Tim Hortons. So I sent them down big things of Tim Hortons down to Wyoming for them. But if anybody wants any more information, please. Yeah, Delvin.
Okay, Delvin, go ahead.
Jim, if we tried to build a dam anywhere in rural BC, we would be met with a host of government requirements from agrologists and hydrologists and biologists, etc. When you go and do these dams in rural India, are they authorized by the local or federal government?
We work in conjunction with the Indian Water Conservation Society, which is government, and we work with a group called PhD, which is different than the degree, but it's basically rural development. And yes, they scout these out, they do the engineering, they do everything. So when we get there, everything is done and approved. The last dam that we built it with a grant, a total grant of $51,000 US. The fellow that I brought over, the engineer just from Alaska, just laughed and he said, you know, if we did that in the United States, that would be a $5 million project. We did it for $51,000 and it works.
Well done.
Labor's cheap.
And it's fun. It's great fun.
Yeah. Anybody else? A question for Jim? Well,
I think it's fabulous, Jim.
Thanks.
I love it. I love this whole thing. This was a great meeting. Peter, thanks a lot. And
the two combinations are good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
this
enjoyable.
was really great. Very nice.
I think what it comes down to, and they re-pushed this at the Pets thing that I went to a couple of years ago. How long were you a member of Rotaria? But very different is when did you become a Rotarian? In Rotary for 20 years. I became a Rotarian about 6 ago.
Yep. No, we all have a story about that on when you. I remember it to the minute when I became a Rotarian. Delvin.
Jim, I'd just like to point out that when I do masonry, I mix my mortar in one of those silver salad bowls. Best thing for it.
Anywhere in North America, we would buy a proper a mixer, one of these big mixer things. They make a big anthill of sand and then make a hole in the top, pour the cement in, and the stonemasons sit there and just play with it and mix it. I mean, in North America, we would be horrified. I've been on dams that have been there for 10 years, and trust me, that hardens and it ain't going anywhere. They're But it would horrify me.
They built across the street from me, they built a store, and that's what they did. I watched them. I mean, first of all, there comes a big truck with I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of bags that are all unloaded by hand, going to up the floor, up the lift, and then it comes down, they mix it, and then one brick at a time is carried up and the whole thing. When labor is cheap, that's what you can do. So
well, that's what the locals do. And that 16-year-old girl, as they were mixing it, she was flipping it into the salad bowls. And she was there in the morning, she was there in the afternoon, she worked the whole day. Incredible. At 16 and never broke a sweat. But the one in the reservoir when we were marched into the city, I'd been there, I think that was about my 3rd time. And I've got to be careful now. This old guy, older than me perhaps, in white and a cane, and I was carrying a cane, and we sort of saluted. And all of a sudden, he started crying and throws his arm around me, dropped the cane, sobbing away, and in perfect English says, "You have no idea what you're doing for our village." Paid for the trip. Absolutely paid for the trip.
Good. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, everybody. I will follow up with what I sent before about Guatemala and some new stuff that I get from Britain. We will work on that as we go, and the next thing is to get together with Bill Skinner some other day. Then he's not meeting with his international committee, so he can give more of the details on that part, because he has a foundation in Guatemala, or that works in Guatemala. Perfect. So he goes on a regular basis and does a lot of work in Guatemala too. Awesome. Okay.
Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
I'll go and beat the dog.
Great meeting, Peter. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
It will be on YouTube tomorrow.
Perfect.